about satisfaction, what do you think is the greatest sense of joy and satisfaction that you have received in your career, if you knew?
Well, I have a lot of very successful graduates. And the most, see, when I see somebody come in at practitioner, NLP practitioner, and I see who they are, and I talk to them about their job that they've got or what they're doing, and then I see them come back to NLP Master Practitioner, and I see the job changes, or maybe they start to think about doing coaching on their own, and then I see them go through NLP Trainers Training, and I see them become extremely successful. We have some graduates all over Europe who are doing very, very well. I have graduates in the United States and Australia who are doing very, very well. So I see them come in and I see the change occur step by step. And I see the change in their thinking, I see the change in who they are, I see the change in their abilities, and especially their ability to get up and project, but especially their ability to get up and command an audience and be a charismatic speaker.
Right.
When I see that, that's very satisfying. I really get a sense of having done something good. It feels good to me. I like the feeling. I could have, like I said, I could have sold a used car, but how much satisfaction is there in selling a car where you know the wheels are going to fall off the next day? you know, I don't know if you ever bought a used car from a car lot in the United States or Australia, but if you buy a used car from a car lot, you're taking your chances, because the joke is that the wheels will always fall off within 24 hours, or the first guarantee, whichever one expires first. And so I could have done that, but I'm not sure how much satisfaction there would be in knowing that it was something that the person wouldn't be happy with ultimately. There was an interesting story. There was a guy who'd surveyed our trainings back in the 90s, and he surveyed our trainings, and he interviewed all the people who'd graduated, or who had answered him, all the people that had graduated from our trainings. And I think he ended up interviewing about 600 people. Wow. That's a lot of people. He was doing his master's degree in psychology, and he was trying to prove that NLP was a bogus thing. And there was no other NLP school that would respond to him except us. So he interviewed 600 people, and what he found was it's a stunning, like 98% of them were absolutely, totally satisfied with what they'd learned. And he found the more they learned, the more satisfied they were. So someone who went on to practitioner was less satisfied than someone who went on to master practitioner, who was less satisfied than someone who went on to trainers. And the people that went all the way on to trainers, all of them were very satisfied, 98% average. But the ones that went on to trainers training were the most satisfied. And he found that they also ranked the material the most useful that it could possibly be. So having such a great level of satisfaction among the students is really important for me. It's really important for me. Like I said, we want you to look good. We're not interested in looking good ourselves, although hopefully we do. But we want you to look good. We want you to say, when you see us doing what we do, and I say us because I'm talking about Adriana also, because we teach together. When you see us doing what we do, then my goal would be for you to say, oh, I get how I could do that. Not, Tad looks so fantastic and Tad's the best, but I get how I could actually get up in front of an audience and do the same kind of thing. And at the bottom of our slides we have this little motto that says transform the planet. And that's very important to me, because I know that I can't do it myself. I know that it's not something I can do myself. I know that I'm crazy, but I'm not stupid. And I'm kidding about the crazy. But I know that I can't transform the planet by myself, and I know that's a grandiose goal. I read a book once where the author said, if you really want to have a life worth living, pick a goal that's bigger than you. Pick a goal that gets you out of bed on Monday morning. Pick a goal that inspires you so much that the little aches and pains that you might have along the way aren't even an issue. So, I mean, how much bigger could we have chosen than transform the planet? What, are you nuts?
That is totally true.
So the goal of transforming the planet is a gigantic goal, and I can never do it myself. And I'm still intently working on it. And in fact, we've transformed a lot of people in a lot of areas, and we've transformed tens and hundreds of thousands of people. I had an infomercial that went gigantic in the 90s, mid-90s, And I think we sold 50,000 copies of that of the tape set that went with the infomercial. And we sold 50,000 copies of the infomercial. And it transformed a lot of people. We actually had a lot of people get back to us and tell us how important it was in their lives just from listening to the tapes at the time. So for me, it's about transforming the planet. For me, it's about how do you do that. And I know I can't do that alone. So Adriana's now working with me, and I know that Adriana and I can't do it alone. We need to train people who will train people who will train people. Most important is NLP and timeline therapy. Timeline therapy is a very easy, natural technique that allows you to let go of negative emotions and limiting decisions very easily, very quickly, in as little as 10 minutes per each negative emotion or limiting decision. It allows you to let go of limiting decisions like I'm not good enough or I can't have what I want, and it allows you to create what you want in your future. So that's what's important to me about that.
Yeah, you were mentioning before those little hiccups and those little pains on the way. So what was the most difficult part in this career that you have?
Well, always getting started I've always felt that getting started is one of the more difficult things that a person can do. Getting started is, what do I want to say about that? Getting started is always fraught with hiccups and starts and stops. And we were, at the time, I was doing business consulting before I got into NLP.
Right.
So I was doing profitability consulting, and the reason I got into NLP was it was a conscious decision. It wasn't actually by accident. The reason I got into NLP was because our clients didn't always do what we said. So they'd hire us, they'd pay us money, and we'd advise them what to do. We'd tell them what to do. And many times after they paid us a lot of money, they would say, "We don't want to do what you're suggesting." And I would go, "But we know what to do to make you profitable. We know what to do to make you make a lot of money in this business." But they would say, "Oh, but I don't want to do that." So I began to look around for a way to get client compliance. I began to look at this area or that area to see how I could get compliance from clients that would make the change occur so that they would create the kind of results they wanted. And I landed on NLP. NLP seemed to produce a really good level of compliance.
Right.
It got people doing what we suggested. And when we added NLP to the mix of business consulting, and so we just added the practitioner and master practitioner material right into the business consulting, and we trained all our business consultants in NLP and certified them as master practitioners. When we added that in, we ended up doing coaching, and the results were that as a business consulting firm before NLP, we were holding our clients for an average of 3 months. So we'd have a client for 3 months.
Right.
And after we added NLP to the mix, we were holding our clients for 9 months. So we tripled the length of stay.
That is impressive.
Well, it's impressive from a cash flow point of view.
Yes.
Because you got to go out and create new clients every 3 months. If you lose a client every 3 months, you have to create at least one more client every 3 months. Whereas in the meantime, now we've lengthened the length of stay to 9 months. And what happens is the clients do more. The clients stay for longer, so they produce more cash flow. So as a business consulting firm, we were doing quite well, having added NLP. And then I got kind of lucky and discovered timeline therapy. And having discovered timeline therapy 30 years ago, that's that was a good thing to do. I thought it would be useful.
Right. Well, what would you say would be the secret of your success?
I think a couple of things. One of the things is I understand what we do.
Right.
And I understand what we don't do. Let me give you an example. One time early on, we got a call from a company that said, "We'd like you to come over and train our people in how to use Microsoft Word." And at that point, we were an NLP company. We weren't training people in how to use software. Although we could have, if someone knowing Word well enough could put together a training pretty quickly. But I didn't feel we were in that business. And I think one of the first things that you need to know when you're doing NLP trainings as a company is what business you're in and what business you're not in. You're probably not in the business of doing, what would you say, web optimization, search engine optimization. As a company, if you're teaching that and you're teaching NLP, those are two conflicting marketing positions. So I would say the second thing, the reason we've been so successful is because, at least in terms of starting up, is that we know marketing.
Right.
So my university education included some marketing. And we know marketing. So in the process of doing what we're doing, we're also keeping in mind the marketing principles and ideas that actually keep a company moving in a certain direction. A lot of people start off their NLP businesses and they don't know marketing. Now the next thing is you need to pay attention to what produces results and what doesn't. So the third thing is results, I think, in terms of to answer your question. The third thing is results. How do you produce results and how do you measure results? So if I go out and I have a seminar and I put enough people in the seminar to pay for the seminar, that's results.
Yeah.
If I go out and market a seminar and I don't have enough people in the seminar to fill the seminar, I don't have results. But I think a lot of people keep doing the things that don't produce results.
And they probably don't have an efficient way to measure that.
Yes.
And
yes.
that is important too.
They don't have an efficient way to measure that. So you need to look at your results, which means you need to take stock of where you are every month, every day. Every time you do a seminar, you need to look and see if the seminar was profitable. There's that old joke in business consulting. Well, I had a client who was making hamburgers. He's losing about 10 cents per hamburger, but he'll make it up by selling a lot of them. If you're losing 10 cents per hamburger, the more you sell, the more you're going to go broke. So you've got to pay attention, if you're doing NLP trainings, you've got to pay attention to making sure that each of because honestly, I hate to say this for some of you will hate this, doing an NLP training business is a business. It's a business. We're transforming the planet. That's the feel-good prospect of it. That's the satisfaction that we get from doing it. But the fact is, if we're going to be in business, we've got to be in business. You got to do those things which are business-oriented. You got to do those things which are paying attention to the business. And one of them is knowing what the cost per the seminar is. And the fourth thing, I think, to answer your question, is I think it makes a difference how long you're in the business.
Yes.
I began to notice this after about 5 or 10 years. I had a woman come to me, I think we were in our 10th year anniversary, and she said, "Do you know, I saw you 8 years ago, and I've been trying to get the money together to come and take your training for 8 years." She said, "All of a sudden I had a windfall and now I'm here to take your training." She said, "But it took me 8 years to get here." Sometimes it takes people 8 years. So what happens is you may do marketing now, right now, and it may not produce the results you need to fill that seminar. But if you continue to go on and make even a small profit, if you continue to go on and do the same thing year after year and have a similar schedule year after year, people will eventually show up. I've talked to people over and over again in my career over the last 30 years who it took them 5 or 10 years to get to. In fact, I talked to a woman in California the other day, just before we left, and she said, I saw you in the 90s in Irvine, California, and I really wanted to take your practitioner, and I just made it. And I said to her, "Where have you been? We've been holding a chair for you." So it's possible that if you continue to do the same thing year after year, what will happen is that the consistency will produce results.